Speaker coming up next. This is Jason Glasgow. He's the division president from Richmond American Homes. Just so happy to have him on with us today. When I reached out to him the other day, he didn't hesitate when he said he would love to be here with you guys. So, Jason, I'm going to introduce my colleague Clay Wilson. He's going to MC the session with you, and
Okay.
we're just super excited. This is one of the top 10 builders in the United States. So massive company he represents, and everyone's I know I am excited to hear this story and hear what it's like to work in the construction industry. So Clay, why don't you take it away, buddy?
Well, thank you, sir. And Jason, thank you very much for your time. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor and privilege to introduce a distinguished leader who truly embodies the mission of taking care of veterans and really being able to showcase what it's like to grow yourself outside of the military. Jason is a veteran of the United States Navy and has built a phenomenal career at the highest levels of real estate and home building industries as the division vice president for Richmond Homes, one of the nation's largest home builders. He has a unique blend of strategic vision and hands on operational expertise. His excellence navigating complex markets, acquiring land, and landing large scale projects is simply unparalleled. We are incredibly fortunate to have him here today to share how his military experience has translated into the private sector. And a personal note, as I am sitting inside a Richmond American home, please join me in giving a very warm welcome to Jason Glasgow.
That's great. I'm so happy that you're in one, Clay. Just make sure that if you have any warranty issues, please just call me directly and we'll figure it out.
I am fortunate enough that I have not had any warranty issues whatsoever, and my
That's
experience
great.
with your organization has been remote. So before we go into your deck, sir, I do have sort of an open question for you, and this is something I always ask everyone. What is your origin story? What led you to join the U.S. Navy? And then what led you to going, getting out and then becoming senior vice president for O'Donnell Atkins?
Sure. I will be as brief as I can. It's not an exciting story, but it's probably one that some folks on the call are familiar with. I got out of high school on the central coast of California and didn't really know what to do. Was going to go to college, decided to go in the military instead, went in the Navy. I thought I was going to be in the nuclear field, nuclear engineering field. Ended up not doing that at all. And I came through, and those of you who are from the Navy side or the Marine side will know what this is. I came through the first 6 months to a year, and I was a what they call a shitbird, just really not knowing what I wanted to do. Joined not really on a whim, but definitely joined without any specific mission in mind. Not even really, oh, I want a better life or anything. It was really kind of a spur of the moment thing. And that's just me being candid with you. After a while, I figured out that I was good at driving boats and I was decent at firing weapons. And so I ended up finding a pretty good place within the Navy and the Atlantic Fleet, driving patrol, assault boats and patrol boats. And that did give me some sense of purpose, but it wasn't the driving of the boats or the shooting the guns or going out in all these other cities that gave me that sense of purpose and direction. It really came back to I started to see that there were people who cared, who were mission driven, who really were focused on the evolution and they were focused on building their skill set within the U.S. Navy. And that was something that I hadn't really seen before. So I always chuckle when I hear someone or I see someone talk about their military story, and you guys are probably all aware of Jocko Willink and all these other guys who were kind of squared away from the day they came out of the womb. It seems like, and I laugh at that because I think that most people have more familiarity, and it resonates with them that when you went in, you didn't know what you were doing, and you weren't squared away day one, and no officer or enlisted person I met that was in their first year or two in the military was squared away. Um, and I would argue that I came into it thinking that I was better than everyone else anyway. So it took me a couple of years to figure out that I was not better than anyone else, and that I had some potential, but I definitely wasn't better than anyone else. And that's how I kind of got through the Navy. I decided to get out. I was off the coast of Somalia. This is a long time ago, probably before many of you were born. And I was on a ship off the coast of Somalia, thinking about what I wanted to do with my life, if there was anything other than this. And I decided to get out at that time and go back to school. So went to undergraduate school in San Francisco at San Francisco State University. Was thinking about maybe becoming a doctor because I wanted to serve in some way, and then realized that I was not good at organic chemistry at all. And so that was a quick shift because you got to be decent at that to get into the medical field. So then I switched over to international relations, which then turned me towards international finance and real estate development. And that's where I went down to Southern California and got my master's of business administration in real estate finance and international finance. So
Fantastic.
that's what took me to O'Donnell Atkins, which was at that time the largest residential land brokerage on the West Coast. And in case any of you have thought about it like I've thought about it, I actually didn't realize that you had to buy land and you had to get approvals. I just thought that houses got built, right? So I became very interested in the built environment and what it takes to get things approved, the money, the politics of it, but also why are you building what you want to build in this location? Who does that serve? What are the demographics? Who's going to buy it? Can they afford it? That kind of thing. So that was how I got to O'Donnell Atkins, and I was there for a number of years and ended up running the Los Angeles office for OA. And our express purpose was to take land sellers who kind of didn't know what to do with their land, and this could be existing properties that had an old apartment building that was empty or an office building that needed to be torn down and redeveloped. All of that was on the table. So that's where the creativity for me, I'm not very visually creative or artistically creative, but I am pretty intellectually creative. And I think that's where the building of the skill sets that I got in the Navy started to kick back in, was not just the self-discipline and not just the willingness to listen to others and learn from them that you learn when you're in the military, but also starting to say there's got to be a better way. There needs to be, I know what the objective is. How do we accomplish this objective? There's multiple ways to do it. What's the best way? What resources do we have, et cetera? And that's something that I think, just to bring it full circle, that's something that I think I've used at every step along my career, is building a framework for the skills that you need to be successful in whatever you're trying to accomplish, and then saying there's one objective, but there's many different ways to accomplish that objective. So how do we frame the situation? How do we make good use of our resources? What's the fastest we can get to this objective that we're looking for? Also, you don't have to be perfect. You just have to really strive to accomplish the objective as quickly as you can with the resources you have. I always have this card sitting on, oh, you can't see it. There you go. Done is better than perfect. So this is a card that I will often give to people who work with me and for me if they are having a hard time getting through something. I'll say, listen, let's get it done now, and then let's pick it up, and we can fix it once you've gotten it done. That seems to be something that resonates with a lot of the folks here. In that you're not perfect. You don't have all the skills you need to get this one particular issue or one particular objective complete. You got to go back to the rest of your team and get their help to do so. So in that way, a lot of what we do in construction is we make use of a lot of different resources, and it's a huge team. It feels very much like the military to me. It's one of the things I like most about it.
Love it. And you've kind of blown through a lot of my introductory questions. So if you want to go ahead and, introduce your deck and go through the deck, and then I'll monitor the chat. If we have any questions via chat, I will call them out, and then we can just take it from there. How does that sound, sir?
That sounds great. Yeah. I did want to say one more thing about when I got out. One of the hardest things about getting out was that I didn't understand how much value I was taking from the structure, discipline, the hierarchical based team environment in the military. And everyone wants to kind of get out. I'm going to do my own thing and not have to report to anyone. And I think that's a laudable. That's a great goal. But I found that in that freedom, I was kind of untethered, and I wasn't able to prioritize what I was trying to do first or next to reach those objectives. So I ended up coming back around, and folks who have a PMP, which is a project management certification, coming back around and saying, wow, most of the people that are in the military that I've known basically have all the skills they need to be a certified project manager. They just got them via their experience in the military and dealing with systems. So my presentation is not it's really just about what we're working on right now, which is this incredible new, it's called post and beam construction technology. So let me just share it real quick.
Absolutely, fire away. And you actually hit the nail on the head. That's actually something that I tell a lot of veterans that, hey, you can go get your PMP very quickly. I was one, didn't even realize it. And I got mine
Right.
from DU in a matter of a couple of months, strictly because I already had the background. So my apologies,
Yep.
please continue.
No, not at all. It's a great point. So we have as you may, if you look it up, you can look it up and you can see what our company is about. But we have Sekisui House, which is a Japanese company, the largest home builder in the world by number of homes built, owns Richmond American Homes and a few other home builders that makes up the sort of the sixth largest home builder in the United States. So I run the Richmond American side, but also I've been tasked, because I've built luxury housing in Los Angeles for a long time. I've been tasked with bringing the Shawwood product over to the United States and really up into the Pacific Northwest at this time. And that is additional, as you can see here. Shawwood itself was established a long time ago. It actually stands for Sekisui House Ace Wood. That's the what the name stands for. They've built a lot of homes worldwide, but the key thing I want you to focus on here is as you know, Japan has a lot of earthquakes, just as many as California does. The number of Shawwood homes that have been built, the number of Shawwood homes that have suffered from structural damage and natural disasters, 0. And that's because of the way it's built. It's not your regular, what we call 2x4 construction, and everyone's familiar with how a house is built, but it's basically, boards and nails, right? Plywood, OSB, that kind of stuff. And the way that we build Shawwood houses with post and beam technology, so I'm going to size this up so you can see it a little bit better. But essentially, every post is engineered and pre-drilled, and these are posts here, and these are beams, and every beam is engineered and pre-drilled with hardware, so that there's never a situation where a screw was screwed into a piece of wood and might come out, or a nail was pushed through into some wood and then might get loose over time. So the idea that you'll have creaking, and maybe you can't be weatherproof anymore because the house starts to move a little bit over time and settles, that goes away with the Shawwood product type. And the reason I'm bringing this up on this group here is home building is seen as a sort of old school, it doesn't really change that much. The industry doesn't really change that much. And therefore, you can just be, a 55-year-old senior superintendent swinging a hammer and you're good. That is not the case. This industry is actually changing a lot, specifically related to what we build for the people we're building for. So multi-generational housing is becoming a really big thing, because you've got multiple generations of one family living in one house. So you need separation of space. But then also people start to care more about stuff like how the wood is being sourced, right? This is also sourced sustainably from forests that we own in Norway. All of it goes to Japan, and it's precision engineered down to less than a millimeter, and all of the hardware is installed once it's on site. So
that's absolutely fascinating. Where's my carpentry skill bridger? I definitely want you to pay attention to this, because
exactly.
that's absolutely insane. You're bringing wood from Norway, sending it to Japan. They're engineering it, they're building it, and then they're shipping it over here to. I mean, so compared to your traditional American built, hammer and nail construction to the Shawwood concept, are you having reduced lead times in build, I'm assuming, or is it about the same?
Once it's on site, it's more lead time in terms of the logistics and delivery for a
Okay.
variety of reasons. But once you're on site, it's substantially faster. Yeah. So we've got these things what we call clear view ceilings, which essentially bring the outside in. You can see that outside there's one ceiling, but it's the same material as the inside. This is all multiple pocket doors that can blow right open. Now, these are for luxury houses, but the key that Seki Studio House is focused on and why I'm really excited about it is because all of the stuff that we're doing from a technological advancement perspective is bringing that in to the 2x4, more affordable, smaller townhomes, apartments. So Seki Studio House owns a bunch of different groups that are doing all of the same thing, using this technology and then either miniaturizing it or adapting it to the types of construction that we're working on. So eventually, you'll see a lot of this technology make its way into affordable housing, affordable with a capital A. And that to me is what's most exciting is not just delivering a $3 million house to someone who can afford it, but delivering technologies that can be costed properly and that can be transmuted into other things that we build. One of the things I wanted to focus on, I'll get off of this and I'll stop sharing, but these houses they have Felburn, which is a proprietary ceramic panel material. This goes on instead of your siding. And this is 1600 degrees on the outside. On the other side, it's only 120 degrees. You can put your hand on the inside of this ceramic. And that's without any additional insulation. So obviously, we've built a lot of houses down in Los Angeles, the Palisades fire and other fires that have happened in that area and other areas. That's not an issue or significantly less of an issue if you have something like these fire-resistant Belburn ceramic panels. And then we're also really driving hard to get to net zero. And that means that we have Tesla walls, Tesla power walls, and also what they call span panels. Again, this is for all the electricians out there. Any part of construction right now, inclusive of plumbing, foundation, concrete work, electrical, any of it, low voltage, any of it is a wide open field right now. There's nobody from 20 years ago has any advantage today unless they're actually doing the work to build their skills. So that's what I love most about this it's still continuing to revolutionize. All of our homes, all of our Shawwood homes are built to be a net zero home. Basically, not use any outside over time, be able to store as much energy as they need from the solar panels up top. So just real quick, this is what it looks like. All of these are precision within 1 millimeter. All of these posts that go up are precision posts, again, within 1 millimeter. The foundation has a 2 millimeter tolerance, just to give you an indication. The usual foundation has between a 7 and 9 millimeter tolerance, and sometimes up to 14. So what happens is the people that are building the house on top of the foundation have to do a lot of extra work to make sure it all trues up and they can square the house up. And then that's just one of the models being built right now.
Where are these models being built, Jason?
We have them in Vegas. We have them in 4 different spots in Southern California, 3 spots in Northern California around the Sacramento market. And then up here in the Pacific Northwest, we have them in Portland market as well as in Southwest Washington. So we're going to be growing this really quickly. We're very excited about it for a variety of reasons. It's not just because it's going to be a profitable business, but because, like I said, it's going to require a whole new generation of people that really give a shit about what they're doing. And it's not just, oh, I gotta go to work again. Oh, let me drink my monster drink and I'll sling a hammer. That's just not how it's going to be going forward. It's going to be very, very much a technology forward business. At the same time, every aspect of our business is just like the military, is that we have a ton of logistics, but we also have a ton of admin. Human resources become extremely important because it's really difficult to hold on to the best talent. Typically because the best talent gets recruited away because everyone knows each other in the business. And a lot of the senior superintendents that we have to hold on to, we really have to make it more than just about the money. And so a lot of what we focus on is making this actually a great place to work as well. And that for me, culturally, I was always, ever since I left the military, I was always looking for a way to get back to that feeling of having your cadre of people that you really get along with, you really understand, they've got your back. You'll argue, but then you come out of it because you're arguing respectfully, that kind of stuff. So a lot of what we do today is trying to recreate those experiences I had so many years ago.
I love it. Jordy has a question, and then I'll go back to mine. But that's absolutely fantastic, Jason. Thank you for that. Go ahead, boss.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that slide deck, man. That was great. I enjoyed looking at the
Sure.
pictures of how you're doing things. How, Jace, can you talk a little bit about your career over the years? I mean, you've worked alongside some real high performing executives in a variety of different roles. What are some of the commonalities you see in the people who just really do well with their careers? What do they do to get those qualities, to get them hired, to get them, so they can advance once they enter the workforce? But share that with some of
Sure.
the people on the call here.
Yeah, it's a good insight that there are some commonalities. I don't think I'm going to say what you think I'm going to say. What I believe is that it is important to develop your skill set, and it is important to be able to be an individual producer, an individual contributor. That's absolutely true. And as I came out of business school and started doing land brokerage and then moved into finance and went to work for Goldman Sachs for a little while, buying lots of land for them, what I realized was no matter how many additional skills I was putting together, what mattered most was the relationships that I was building, both with the folks that were hierarchically below me and hierarchically above me. And that hasn't changed. For me, I've told both my kids, you don't have to go to college. They both happen to go to college, went to college, and one of them still in. But I said, you don't have to go to college to be successful. What you have to do is you have to build a network of like-minded people that you can help and they can help you. That's it. And if you build skills off to the side, build the skills at home and then bring those skills into the group, that's what makes the difference. And everyone I've worked for, including Paul Peterson, who's now the chief operating officer of the entire company, who I talk to, a couple times a week now, he is bound and determined that it's the relationships you have and the networks that you keep, because we're going to assume that everyone knows what they're doing. We're going to assume because you have to. If you're a leader, you have to assume that people have done the work. And if they haven't, there's a program for helping them to get that work done, to build those skills. But if you assume that everyone's intentions are good and everyone's skills are good, then the only thing left is how do we work together as a team? So the best people, the most high-performing people I've seen, even the high-performing individual contributors, they also were able to bring a team together. And even if they weren't hierarchically at the top of that team, they were able to be a leader from wherever their position was. I do believe that, and I didn't know this when I was in the military at all, and I didn't even really respect it probably for the few years afterwards while I was in school, but I did find that because of my ability to sort of cross the aisle and understand marketing and understand sales and understand operations and understand HR, because of your willingness to go, I don't really know how that works. Can you explain it to me? And then kind of read it back to them, which is a lot of what you do in the military is read what you heard back so you make sure that everyone's on the same page. That really, really, really had a huge effect. And it was something that other leaders were doing, even though they had never been in the military. They had just figured out that that was what was most useful. So I think that being a great team member and a leader from wherever you are within that team, that's what's going to have a long career, and it's going to push people to the top.
And
There's very few people
anyone
there.
can do that. Yeah,
Yeah,
zero.
that's right.
But we spend a lot of time with them on hopefully giving them the skills and foundation to be a great networker. Can you talk a little bit about that? What does that mean to you to be a good networker? What are some of these takeaways that these amazing men and women can come away from this session with on how to build that network? What are some of your favorite strategies for that?
Sure. I didn't do this early in my career, and I was taught by a friend who became a mentor of mine how to do it. And it's not just show up, right? Because just showing up at the mixer or just showing up at the skill building seminar, yeah, I mean, yeah, but you could sit in the back and just take notes and not talk to anyone, right? I think that coming at it from a perspective of looking at each person who's in the room and understanding that they're a human being, they have a family, they have goals and stuff like that. It seems really simplistic to think that way, but honestly, just being really curious about what brought people here to wherever they are and how you might be able to help them in the future, stay connected and help them in the future. If you just come from that intentionality, everyone sees it. Even the people that are kind of playing like they don't really care, they do see it, and it ends up coming back around. You'll end up meeting them, especially if you've already chosen an industry to be in when you get out of the military. These industries are quite small, actually, especially if you've chosen to stay in a certain geography or whatever else. So getting to know all those people and how they kind of fit in, and then seeing how you might be able to help them intentionally is, to me, far and away the best actions to take. The second piece of it is when you show up, participate. And I am naturally a little bit more of an outgoing person. A couple of my best friends are very introverted people who just hate going to these things. And what I said, and maybe it was bad advice at the time, but it seems to have worked out for all of them, is do not go in it and like, hey, I'm going to be gregarious and I'm going to be that guy or that girl. But go in it and say, hey, I'm going to find one or two people that I know I have something in common with, and I'm going to see what they're all about and just ask them questions and see how I can help them. What ends up happening is you end up having much better conversations than if you were just kind of going around, hey, how's it going? How's it going? Here's my card. Here's my card. But you also end up forming some sort of a bond over that experience that you can then take forward. And even if it's just following up later with a text or through LinkedIn or whatever else, saying, hey, really great to meet you. I love knowing that you ... I really hope that we come across each other in the industry in the future. Hopefully we're not competing with each other for a job, but let me know if I can do anything for you. I'd love to. And that's it. And a lot of people are going to ignore it. And a lot of people, because they're on their own journey and they aren't focused on serving others and they aren't focused on making true connections. That's okay. That's their journey. They'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Maybe in 10 years, maybe in 50 years. Who knows?
I love that you broke it down to just make one quality connection. Don't get intimidated by having to go talk to 20 people and do that whole thing. Just go slow
Right.
and just be yourself. That's such great advice. Clay, did you have any more for Jace?
Yeah, actually, you kind of touched on it, but I want to get a little bit deeper on it for everyone here. Is what's your personal philosophy on mentorship, and can you share an example of a time that you have mentored someone or you were mentored yourself, and what was the key takeaway?
Yes, I can share that. I would say that, again, a mistake that I made early on, and I think that this came from my own personality, but I also think it came from being told when you're in the military or when you're in school, you just got to figure it out. You just got to do it. You just got to do it. You just got to do it. It's always just, all right, I'm just going to figure it out. I'm not going to ask anyone else. Asking someone else is weak, right? That's showing vulnerability, that kind of thing. And so I was able to flip that script after business school because there was a couple of classes in business school that I really had a hard time with, and I ended up getting with this guy who basically is a math genius, but socially not all there. And he said, "Look, I'll help you. You help me, and we'll get through it together." And so we happened to be on a couple of projects together, and he became a mentor of mine because I asked him to. I said, "Hey, is it all right if I just call you every once in a while with questions about how this finance stuff works? Since here I am with an MBA in international finance, and I have a question, but I can't ask anyone because now I'm supposed to be the expert, right?" So he said, absolutely. And so from there, and I'll tell about the brief one. From there, I started to feel really comfortable asking questions, and I realized that I had had almost no one in my career, really in my life, where we had an explicit understanding that he was agreeing to take a question from me. It's sort of an interesting thing, but you never really talk about that kind of stuff with people. You don't say, hey, would it be okay if I followed up with you and asked you questions later? That's just typically not how it goes. So in my own mentorship of others, what I've done is I've said, and this is specifically with folks that work for me now, as well as have worked for me in other organizations, is you can come into me and I can be your boss, or I can be the person that you report to, and we can have that conversation. When the time comes for you to need mentorship, it will either be me who takes off the boss hat, or more likely I'll suggest someone that I know that you should be talking to. And then that's going to be up to you to follow up with them. And then you can form that tacit or explicit agreement that says, hey, I'm here because I'm a little bit older, I got a little bit more gray hair, and I've got a little bit more experience in the thing that you want to get experience in. You're here because you have an intentionality of getting that experience and asking good questions. That's it. If we have that agreement, then we're going to be good. So I've had people come in and say, hey, can I close the door, take off your boss hat? I said, yeah. And the mentorship can be in a bunch of different ways. It doesn't even need to be about professional. And oftentimes it's not about the professional. Oftentimes it's about the personal that's affecting the professional. So I think having explicit mentorship, not agreements, but relationships where you each understand what the other is doing and why they're doing it, I think those are great things, and they're great things to ask for.
Love it. Yeah, having rank off conversations definitely does help. Before I go into any more of my questions, does anybody else here besides Jordy have any questions for Jason? Now's your time.
Hey, I have a question, Gisette. So I want to get into interior design. So this just further sparks my interest, like with anything dealing with building. So talking about it, so I'm like, I got into it more. So I'm like excited about it. So basically background about that, I'm in the process of building a house, and I got into the weeds of it, got on Instagram, looking at all these different stories about it, like building a healthy home, all that good stuff, looking at all the different checklists and all that. Um, I guess one of my questions to you is, in building homes, have you, like, I guess building homes in communities, have you ever built homes where it's like I guess like the cookie cutter homes where it's like you build in like the building, I guess in the kitchen area, because it's one of my pet peeves where now they'll build the homes where in the kitchen area where they'll build they'll have the stove and the microwave above it, and then they don't build the cabinets all the way up.
Sure.
And I'm like, and I'm in the process of one of the things I was like, okay, if I don't build a home, I'll just buy one of theirs. And I was like, hey, since the house isn't built yet, can I not get the microwave in
Right.
and can I just get the cabinets all the way up? They was like, oh no, that's not a part of it. I'm like, well, it's not up yet. I can just pay for the difference.
Right.
Why is that a thing? Like, why can't builders make that an option? And if not, why don't they think of that as an option and make it an option, and they can make more money off of people? And I'm like,
Sure.
that could be a business tool. Like, hey, if you want to build that in, that can be another semi-custom option for you
Right.
if you want it. And I just want to know from your perspective, why don't they do that?
Yeah, there is a spectrum, right? Of you can go for pure cookie cutter production housing, what we call spec housing. And spec housing is the D.R. Hortons of the world do a really good job of building it very inexpensively, but building a good house. But they don't focus on what they call full height cabinets, and they don't focus on separating out the microwave and putting a full hood in, because those are expensive. They'd rather put the microwave in and get the perceived benefit of that, the perceived value of that to the home buyer. There are several builders, we're one of them, but there are several that don't do the everything included, like a Lennar or a D.R. Horton. Several builders that say, hey, you can choose the plan, you can choose the lot that you're putting the plan on, you can choose the structural options like sizes of windows, different types of windows, et cetera, a back patio, a balcony. And then you can also choose your kitchen. Those builders are everywhere. And I saw someone in the chat say that's a custom home. Yes and no. I would call it a semi-custom home, or what we call a build-to-order home. So in other words, if you are willing to choose from the options that we have available, and we have thousands of options available, but if you're willing to choose from those options, then we can build the home exactly the way you want it to be. If you're not willing to choose from those options because you want a Gagano stove or you want something else that's very specific that we don't offer as an option, that's going to be something that you'd have to do after purchase. But there are many builders that would offer a full height cabinet and be happy to charge you for it. You just have to find those builders. Richmond American's one of them. Taylor Morrison's another one. Sometimes depends on what area you're in. Toll Brothers for sure. That's their specialty, is building a nice house and then having you spend a couple $100,000 on upgrades, right?
Yeah. And the
And they do
next
that
part
very
is,
well.
yeah, the bad part about it that is now is finding land, because all the, I guess the what is it, the developers are buying all the land, so that makes it harder for that. So it's like, well, they should add that option since they buying all the land, because that's
Right.
what's making it harder for me. And it's like, oh yeah, okay, aftermarket I can do it. So just add that option in. And that's why I was just asking that in general. But I get it. And I was just like, oh. So yeah, that's just one of them things. I was just asking it from that perspective.
Yeah, if you want to get into interior design, I do think that joining a production builder is one of the best ways to do that, because you really learn options from the inside out, right?
Yeah,
You
because
want to go to
yeah,
a high volume shop. A high volume shop like we build in my market in Oregon and Southwest Washington, we build about 1,000 houses a year. And when you're at a high volume shop, that means you see all of the preferences for thousands and thousands of home buyers in the marketplace, both the ones that buy your homes and the ones that don't buy your homes. And
yeah,
you understand why they're not buying your homes, why they don't like your options, so you're able to make adjustments accordingly.
yeah,
And it's going to make you dangerous when you end up doing design for your own self, but also if you're going to be a designer, you're going to be designing for other people. You can bring that experience to bear.
yeah. Because one of the other weird things is when they build those weird angles. It's like, why don't you just box it off, or that island that's weirdly
Sure.
shaped? I'm like, just make it a regular island. But yeah, those are my things. And
Yeah.
but yeah, like I said, I would love to pick your brain and ask those type of questions, because like I said, I want to get into it. So, and I'm
Anyone
Navy as
here,
well.
by the way, in case it's not obvious, anyone who's on here, anyone that Jordy has and Clay have connection with off that's not on here right now, if you want to hook up with me on LinkedIn, I will definitely accept your LinkedIn. And one of the things that I really appreciate about ex-military folks, people that are transitioning from the military, is that they tend to have a target, and if they have a target, then they know how to get to that target. So if you look on LinkedIn, I think all of my connections are open connections in terms of you can see who I'm connected to. If you don't want to be in home building, if you want to be in tech, I have a lot of friends that are high up in tech. If you want to be in marketing and in finance, I have a lot of friends that are high up in those industries as well. And so, absolutely willing to stay connected. Just to be clear, you can absolutely pick my brain. Just connect with me on LinkedIn.
Yeah, think about it this way, everyone, is that someone like Jason, who has those strong, meaningful connections, what would that translate to you guys? It gives you more opportunities, and later down the road, when you're in, Jason's shoes, being this division president, you open up more doors for more veterans. Matthew, give me 1 second. There was a question in the chat that I wanted to get back to. It was kind of touched on. Is you mentioned affordable options, getting into affordable housing and everything like
Sure.
that. The Shaywood product, is that really, you are trying to do like net zero and everything like that, but is there really going to be an inherent decrease in the overall cost to pop that product up for you? Or right now, are you still just trying to work through the numbers here in the US?
Oh, well, we buy a lot of land. Obviously, we're one of the top home builders in the country. And in buying that land, almost always it's not individual lots, right? It's typically substantially larger, 20 to 150 to more lots that have already been developed or have already been gotten approved the by the developer, the owner of the land. So we don't see land getting any cheaper. Just period,
No,
exclamation.
no.
What I talk about affordable housing, what I talk about is making the stuff that you saw on my deck more accessible for folks that are at a market rate level. So say $350,000 to $700,000 houses. And then the next thing to do, because you kind of almost have to do it in a row, the next thing to do is then to bring it down to the affordable housing where you actually have tax credits, and there's all kinds of other subsidies that allow you to build a quality product but charge significantly lower. This is mostly for rentals, And so I did a lot of that when I was in Los Angeles before I came here, building affordable housing, sort of capital A affordable, not just affordable, meaning you can afford it, but affordable housing that is actually has tax credits and you're keeping the rents at a certain level so that people can afford to live there long term but don't make that much money.
I love it. Matthew, you're next. And then David, you put a question in the chat, but I actually want you to shout it out to everyone in the class. Ricky, you're going to be number 3. So Matthew, go ahead, sir.
Hey, Jason, thanks for taking my question. So I have so many questions about your company and would love to connect with you on LinkedIn. And I really appreciate the overview that you gave of the construction and the resourcing of materials. I found it very insightful. And this is exactly what I'm looking for. This is the kind of company I'm not familiar with, like construction, but it seems to be innovative. And it's exactly what I'm looking for. I have a background in maintenance and looking to get into tech. So with my background and my pursuit of IT, what kind of jobs or what kind of role do you think would be something I should look into to get involved with your industry?
Okay, so you have a background in maintenance, which is great. I think that where the entry point oftentimes for home building is through a couple of different models. Either you work for a trade, which is like we have a framing trade that reports to us. We don't own the framer, but the framing company, we contract with them to frame our houses, that kind of thing. So it's either working for one of the trades, and that can be in a number of ways. You can start out as a carpenter's apprentice. You can start off as in drywall or sheetrock. You can start off on the paint side. That's how a lot of folks get into the home building industry overall. Our company, which of course is a bigger company with a few thousand employees, none of us sort of swing a hammer because we use a bunch of subcontractors. So I'd say if we have 3,000 or 3,500 employees, we probably have about 30,000 to 35,000 total people who work on the houses overall across 26 markets. So that's one way to get into the industry and then into the corporate side, if you will, is through working for one of the trades. And that is sometimes as simple as looking up who the biggest framer is, the biggest foundation group in your area, and going in there with your resume and saying, hey, I really want to get into home building. You're the biggest foundation group here. Here's my skill set. I'd love to get involved. I've done a bunch of research. I want to come work for you. And then eventually you can move your way into the actual home builder side, which is these larger home builders. Another way to get in is through sales. And that's an interesting one. Maybe you don't feel like you're a salesperson, but maybe you are, because there's all kinds of folks that get into the new home sales side. It's not like being a realtor. It's very much like being a member of this much larger team. I have a lot of respect for realtors because they're out there just earning nothing, just hoping to get a listing or help someone find a house. So a lot of respect for that. That's not what we do here. We have salary, position, lots and lots of training. And really what that is, do you have discipline? Do you have a personality? Do you have a work ethic towards team? And are you interested in the home building industry? Basically, that's how you get in through sales. Another way to get in is actually through maintenance. It's through warranty. And obviously we offer, Clay can attest that we offer warranties on everything we build. And of course, if you offer warranty, then you have to serve that warranty. So we have maintenance crews that have vans that go around and to all the homes that we've sold and fix things that are going wrong with the houses that are under warranty. I think that's a really great way for someone to get in through, because you learn everything about the house from the ground up, and you learn the best way to learn, which is what went wrong, right? And then say, oh, that was built wrong, or that shower pan wasn't put in properly, or hey, that roof is leaking. How did that happen? Oh, we've had some movement of the foundation, that kind of stuff. So that's one way to get in, or I should say another way to get in. The IT side, if we're talking about technology, I think that moving over to the design side, and by design, I don't mean interior design. I don't really mean architecture. I actually mean engineering design. So mechanical, electrical, and plumbing systems. Those three are the ones that are changing the fastest. I guess framing systems too. So four things. are changing the fastest, and they're changing because of technology, because of advancements in technology. So you can connect with me separately, Matt, but those four things of how would you get into that aspect and get into the technological advancement aspect. For example, we use BFS up here for our framing lumber. In the non-Shaw wood, the non-post and beam, we use BFS, really big company, and they have this packaging they put together called an OptiPack, and they basically take the plans that they have that are from a computer, and they can cut every last piece of lumber that needs to be cut, and they pack it all up in this big sort of bubble wrap thing, and they deliver it to your site right at the time you're supposed to start building your frame. And it's freaking amazing. And I attend these things sometimes, and I'm just like, how did you figure that out? And honestly, it's really smart people using really good computers with software systems that are constantly changing. And of course, AI is playing a big part of that now. Of how do we make this more and more and more efficient over time, which is going to mean there's less cost of materials, but it also means there's less wastage, which is where we lose a lot. I'll bet you we lose 10% of our lumber just goes in the trash because it was cut wrong or because it was executed improperly on site. So eliminating that, basically, as you guys can guess from the math, it's like that would save us 10% on lumber if we had zero wastage, right? So things like that is a really good way to get in on the technology side.
Like it.
Awesome.
I like it
This
a
is
lot.
perfect. Thank you very much.
Sure.
David Bennett, you had a question in the chat, but I want you to say it verbally here to everyone in the group. Can you pop up and ask your question?
Absolutely. Thank you, sir, for taking my question.
Absolutely.
My question for you, sir, is for my wife, advocating for her for a moment. She just finished and received her master's degree in civil engineering. It is from a foreign university, but we are currently accrediting it with WES, or Worldwide Education Services. So we're waiting to hear back from them. They'll most likely take 2 to 3 months from here. Does your company have positions for someone to work in that sort of field in blueprints? She does have some experience with family homes and administrative buildings in Europe. So
my best advice on that, David, is to, and I can put you in contact with the heads of AKS. AKS is the biggest, if you're in the Oregon market, it's the biggest engineering company for residential housing in Oregon and Washington. So we know the senior people there, of course, very well, and they're always looking for really good engineers. Typically, they have 1 or 2 civils that, so her accreditation is not going to matter from the perspective of her needing to be able to stamp plans. She would be working under a major civil who is the person who uses his stamp anyway. But it's a really good way to get into the business. And there, regardless of where are you geographically located, where do you want to be?
we'll be moving to Virginia eventually.
To Virginia. Okay, so we have a Maryland division, we have a Maryland division, and we build in Virginia as well. And it's the same thing. I can call the division president in Virginia and say, "Hey, who's your engineer?" And find that out, and then just connect you guys. That's no problem. I don't know that it's going to be a slam dunk because I'm not positive of what yes, it's true that the educational credentials will transfer over. Whether that definitely means that your wife can have a stamped have a civil engineer stamp in the state of Virginia, I don't know that, but definitely figure it out. And engineers are always engineering companies are always looking for really good folks. Always looking.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I would love to connect you after this. Yes.
All right, Ricky, you're up to bat, sir. Go ahead.
Hey there, Jason. Thank you so much for joining this call. Your
Ricky.
experience is undeniable. There's a lot of great stuff. I was looking at your LinkedIn, and you are just very inspirational because you came out of the Navy and you went to college and you just went straight into like those president and high level roles, right? And I was curious, you were talking about your sales background. What are some of the things that you learned from your sales background that helped you and propelled you within your career?
Sure. I want to be super clear with you, Ricky, that when you read executive vice president, that means that's the last position I held, not the first position I held at that company. So, and the reason I mentioned that is because when I started at O'Donnell Atkins, I had a MBA. I had a wife who was really mad that I was going to go join a company that was mostly commissions and not some big, consulting company. She's like, "Wait, what's going on right now? We just had a baby, and you're doing what?" So we got over that. I said, "Look, there's a chance to make a lot of money. I believe in myself. They believe in me. Let's go." But I started as a runner, an overeducated, too old runner for the guy that owned O'Donnell Atkins, Craig Atkins. And so he took me under his wing and talked about mentorship. He said, "Yeah, don't do that. Do this." He made me go get a new credit card and then stack that credit card by buying 3 new suits because I look like a bag of donuts, right? But I didn't know what I was doing. I just got out of business school. So I appreciate you saying that it's inspirational, but I want to be clear. So where I started after business school is at the bottom of this land brokerage, and then was able to build a practice and have some folks trust me. On the sales side, to answer your question directly, what I realized was sales representation is really human representation, and they're just the same thing. You have to understand what the person really wants, and they're not going to just tell you because they don't necessarily know what they really want. The same thing applies to home builders who are wanting to buy land and they're acting like they want this piece of land over here, but when you really know, based on all the analysis that you've done with them, they don't want that land there. Their homes are not going to sell well over there. They'll sell well over here. So helping people understand what they really need just through that called the Socratic method, right? Constantly asking questions, asking the next question. That to me is the sales cycle. The old days, it used to be, the old days is like 20 years ago, by the way, not 100 years ago. The old days, it used to be you could fool someone coming to buy a house by telling them that your houses are better and that you offer a better deal and your square footage. Oh, I don't think those guys are right, because there wasn't a way to just instantly fact check. But nowadays, there's no advantage to having more information because everyone who comes into a house can get all of the same information. So where the advantage comes back in is in the human element. And I come back to the sales side, which is if you are someone who can read people, someone who can build rapport or wants to be able to build rapport, there are a raft of very good training programs. And we have a really good one. It's called the Richmond Way, that will take you from being someone who's just, kind of interested, but has a lot of potential, to being someone who's very comfortable helping someone understand what the best route for them to buy a house would be.
Sweet, Jason. That was a great answer. I was actually curious as well. As you were talking about that perseverance and stuff, right? And I feel like you've taken a lot of those great sales lessons from the time that you were learning and as you were coming up. And now you're in this company, right? As a president and at the top, right? Those lessons are still very much within your system today. So thank you. I just appreciate that. Thank you for that answer.
Absolutely. Yeah. Listen, I mean, I still go out and sit. I'll go sit at a model home, and they won't let me take an appointment anymore because I'm not as good of a salesperson as the salespeople are, and they don't want to lose the sale. But I will definitely go sit the model and walk the models and walk the land with the salespeople. And if there happens to be some home buyers there, definitely talk to them and ask them what they're seeing in the marketplace and what they're really interested in. We were talking earlier about the full height cabinets and whether that's something that just should be standard or is that an option, how expensive that is to put in, et cetera, et cetera.
It should be standard.
I think I know how you feel.
Yeah. All right, let's go with the last question. I want to be respectful of Jason's time. So, AB, what's your first name?
Sir, it's Abraham.
Abraham, go, buddy.
So, Jason,
hey, Abraham.
Hey, Jason, thank you for taking the time to answer my question. So I did go on your website. I noticed that you're in the IE, Los Angeles area. Is your company looking to expand into the San Diego area at all?
We are in the Inland Empire, and we're actually all the way down to Lake Elsinore, which is getting down towards San Diego. We are always looking for great pieces of land to buy and build homes in San Diego. We actually used to have a division there, but probably 15 years ago, 10 years ago, the division leader that was there just decided to go someplace else, and we kind of lost the plot down there. So we are absolutely, I love San Diego. I did some training there when I was in, and of course I sold a bunch of land there. I sold 625 Broadway, which is a big apartment building. They got turned, office building, they got turned into apartments right by City Hall. And so a couple of other high rises as well. We sold the land for those. And I love that market. And everyone here loves that market. In fact, Sekisui House, our group is based in Osaka, Japan. They wonder, like, why are we, because we have Woodside Homes, Richmond American Homes, Holt Homes, and Chesmar. Question is, why isn't any one of those opening a division or operating in San Diego? I think it's a great question. So if you want to bring us some land, then we'll go back into San Diego. But we do cover San Diego out of our Irvine office, just so you know.
Oh, okay. So if someone was interested in a sales position, would it be something that's remote, or would it be at the Irvine area where it's on site?
Well, if you're in a sales position, you'd be at one of the properties. So it could be anywhere in the Inland Empire. It could be anywhere in the Los Angeles, Orange County area. It could be in the San Diego area if we have projects there.
What's it going to take, Jace, to build back all those properties damaged in the fires last year, like in Palisades, and how long is that going to take?
Yeah, we're working hard on it right now, and I'm not much of a political guy in terms of how to attack that from a political standpoint to get things approved. I will tell you, just from a pure logistics standpoint and a pure infrastructure standpoint, the one thing about Palisades that almost no one talks about is most of those power lines that were there, that are no longer there, obviously, because they all got burned out, were above ground previously. And that was always a risk, but it's almost impossible to underground electrical utilities unless you get everyone's permission to rip up the pavement, underground the electrical, right? And so you have to have everyone participate in the cost of that. And these are people that have owned their homes for 25, 35 years. They definitely don't give a crap about whether it's underground or above ground. But now, as you rebuild, this is the one thing that I think is going to slow things down. Regardless of whether you have the architects, the builders, we're going to try to do a lot of work there as well, come up with sort of a group of plans that people can just choose from. If they already own their lot, they can just choose from those, and we'll build it for them on a cost plus basis. Okay. So it'd be cost plus 10% type thing. So we're trying for that. But in order to serve those properties, all of that, there's a law now, the DWP, LADWP, Department of Water and Power, they can only put in undergrounded electrical.
Oh, that's good.
And so when you think about that, it's like, okay, so you have to have everyone's agreement on every street that you're going to put the underground electrical in, and then you have to go get permission from the city to do it.
So
it's going to be, it's going to be years. It's going to be years.
And hopefully they'll all use your fire-resistant homes. I mean, that makes perfect sense, right? You think the insurance
that would be
would love
we would
that,
like
right?
that. We would like that, yeah.
Maybe they'll be able to get affordable insurance.
Absolutely.
Jason, this was awesome, man. I can't thank you enough. It's such an honor to have someone come in from a company like Richmond and talk to us a little bit more about what it's like to work in this industry. We appreciate
100%. You. I did see a bunch of stuff. I'm sorry I didn't really for some reason my chat, it just comes up and goes away. I'm absolutely glad to answer any of the questions that people had that was in the chat. I just don't see the chat right now. I'm sure it's a user error. So
if you don't mind, Jason, I'll do, Jason, is I'll take your LinkedIn profile, I'll throw it in the chat so everyone who wants to connect can connect. But thank you so much for your time today. We do greatly appreciate it. And absolutely, really super informative. I learned a bunch of stuff today, and that says something right there. So, Jason, again, thank you very much. Have a great rest of your day. And Jordy, I'm handing it back to you, sir.
Yeah, appreciate you, Jason, man. We'll get you back here soon. Thank you so much. Take care.
Hey, thanks everyone for getting on. I appreciate it. It's going to be a great journey for you.